Hey everyone, welcome to another weekly Connect to Six Instagram Live. I am your co-host Rachel, and we have a very, very special guest on today. Super excited to have this guest on. So welcome everyone.
Social distancing is
Hope everyone's been having a good day. I know it's a super rough week with everything that's been going on thus far. So please make sure you're taking time for yourself, taking time for healing, and just trying to take some time for self-love and self-care. Well, it looks like we have our guest. Hello, good evening. How are you?
I'm well. I'm waiting for the video to pop in here.
I see it's loading. There we go. We're good.
Are we? Because I don't see you.
I see you. I don't know if it's the Wi-Fi.
No, I got that 5G.
There you go. I see you now.
What's going on?
How are you?
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate this.
Thank you for being on here and sharing the space with me. I feel like we have a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss.
Definitely. And also, I want to salute to Richard Miller as well for all the stuff that he's been doing with Keep6.org. And, just connecting me with y'all and just, doing a lot of great things for the city.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's we all have to collaborate and work together, you know what I mean? Especially for the community when the odds are against us, when the system's against us. It's about working together as to, show that love within the city itself. Hello. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. So, I know we have a lot to discuss, so I'm going to get right onto it.
Let's do it.
First off, I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Well, my name is Friday, or I'm known publicly as Friday Ricky Dred. All right. For the people who know me, they call me Kofi. I see it sometimes in the chat. All right. I'm a content creator, producer for the We Love Hip Hop Network, which is a media hub that houses the We Love Hip Hop podcast, as well as Six Views Uncut, which is another podcast that we have, as well as a third podcast called Zay Link. We produce audio, video content, as well as just putting people on to as many Canadian artists as possible via our music list that we curate every week, the top 6 music videos that the people choose. So we create awareness for the Canadian music scene in general.
Right. And you yourself have been in the scene for a while now.
I used to be a rapper once upon a time.
It wasn't that long ago.
Well, I retired back in 2017, shortly after we started doing the podcast and it started gaining traction. Right. And just my creativity and like the stuff that was in me that I always wanted, like had lyrics going through my head, kind of transferred over to content creation.
Exactly.
All right. So I started losing that will. And don't get me wrong, I never was the rapper who just wanted to rap because, it was a lick or, something that I could make money from. Like like you hear a beat and words won't leave your head until you write them down and put them in the studio somewhere. I was one of those kind of rappers. I had to get it off my chest.
Right.
Right.
It was your therapy.
Yes, most definitely.
And that's how it is for a lot. And I think we're going to touch on that a little bit later. But first off, we've got so much talent in the city. Mm-hmm. A ton of talent. So first, based on your own experience and what you've seen within the city thus far, what does hard work look like within the industry? What does professionalism look like in the industry, especially for those that are like up and coming and want to get on the scene? What does that look like for them?
Well, first of all, starting off with having a bio. If you're an artist, you should have some kind of a bio or write-up, like a one-page write-up about you and your upcoming, as well, your history, as well as what you got going on and what your music represents and what your style, kind of a description of your style, just a short write-up. You know, a press kit would be also preferable, right? If you're not really savvy with your words on how to approach different media outlets, radio stations, things like that, then maybe having a manager or some kind of a liaison in between that's a little bit better with that, it also helps. Being super proficient with social media as well as just computers, like having a laptop is really handy. I notice a lot of people do a lot of their admin work through their phone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's cool when you're on the road. But if you're really, really serious, there's a lot of things that you're going to need a laptop to do, right? So I know I'm saying a lot of stuff besides the music part, but I just feel that it's really important that you get all your business together as well so that you can get your voice heard, because it's obviously important that the artist wants to get their voice heard, but if they don't have their business intact, then it's like it goes in vain, right? You don't get the views that you're looking for, you don't get the traction or the audience that you're looking for, and then you start thinking, well, maybe it's because my music's not good, and that might not necessarily be the case.
Right. And you said something in regards to entrepreneurship, because I feel sometimes everyone, they've got the talents,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't understand the business side of things.
Yes.
And there isn't a lot of people that are out there in the industry that really show them what that business side looks like. There might be individuals who might say that they can give them tips or pointers, but also there's also sort of that clash where they don't know if this person might be taking advantage of them. They have their best interests out. And no one talks about that business side. No one talks about what it means to own your own masters. What does publishing look like?
Yeah.
Right? And so artists are coming out here and they've got that talent, but then when it comes to actually producing and getting themselves up there, they're lost as to where to turn to.
Yeah. You know, there's been a great equalizer with the internet, right? Salute to Google, because there's a lot of information, and I know it sounds so cliche to say it, but there's a lot of information that used to be kept from us before that, you know, you needed to go to like a school like how I went to Harris, right? Harris Institute of the Arts, and there's two different sides to it. There's the production side and then there's the marketing side. And I did the marketing side, and there's Trebus and there's all these different places that you can pay to learn that information. But a lot of that information is free to us now, right? You just have to type in what you're actually looking for, right? But sometimes people don't even know what they're looking for.
That's true.
All right. But so you said some real things like owning your masters. A lot of people don't know what IP is, intellectual property. So it might not just be your music, just your face being used somewhere. You know, you need to know if that person is signed off to be able to use a part of you in from your music video on their stuff.
Yeah.
There might be some money in there for you.
Yeah, it's true. If someone's saying that research is a skill, it's so true. Like lack of a sense of direction. And you know what? Now that we have access to the internet, it's on our phones. Like it's so much easier now for us to have that knowledge. But like you said, sometimes you just don't know what it is that you're looking for.
Exactly. And that's where, like what you said, like their mentors have to come into play to let the younger artists know, okay, well, this is what you're going to need if you want to get your music out there. And once your music is out there, this is what you're going to need to protect yourself, and so on and so forth, right? Once you start making money, this is what you're going to need to maybe put some of this away and some of this for reinvestment. Right? Rather than, oh, don't do drugs and don't shoot people. Like, that's obvious.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it's true. It is true. And then now we see that, okay, so we understand, we're getting an idea in terms of the business side of things, but with business comes having a level of professionalism. And that includes the way you present yourself, but also the way you communicate with others, be it potential interviewers like yourself, or just individuals in terms of how they're looking to promote their music. So what does good professionalism on that side look like?
Well, for example, if you're sending a DM, you don't have to be this most formal person like, hi, my name is Lil So-and-so, and, you know, I have a new release that I would like, that's cool too if you're sending a formal email to somebody. But if you're DMing somebody, hey, what's going on, big dog? I got some new music I'd like you to hear. Here's the link. Let me know what you think.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way that I can get this promoted? Done. That, to me, that doesn't sound like kissing ass. It just sounds like, hey, I got some stuff that I want you to hear. Here's the link.
Right.
But there was a rant that went, I guess, viral a couple of weeks ago now, where I was saying a whole bunch of suck your moms and all kind of crazy shit. I was on one, you know what I mean? I was a little irate, but it was based off of a few different things and a lot of messages that I receive where I just get, post this. Yo, you're sleeping on demand them. And I'm like, well, you might be really good, but your approach is so trash that I don't even want to hear you now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So stuff like that needs to be worked on. You know what I mean? I know a lot of artists are from the hood, and with that type of stuff, like just the way that we deal with each other, it isn't always the best, but it could be better.
I think it's more about just the way, making sure that you come correct.
Yeah. I've done time before, right? So I know the way that we communicate with each other, there's a level of respect and different things like that that we feel that we're not, how could I word this? We don't want to seem like we're kissing ass. You ain't no real no big man to me, so I'm not gonna be super polite to you. Yo, big man, yo, just run this, fam. You know what I'm saying? And that kind of communication, it's cool in certain areas, but it doesn't translate to everywhere. You can't tell the guy over at Universal, yo, man, them at the office, just run this. He's gonna say, what are you even saying? You know what I mean? So I feel like the same way that people treat, like, let's say a hood blog or, you know, quote unquote guys who are hood guys who run blogs and stuff like that, they should treat them the same way that they treat a Universal, a Netflix, anybody that they're trying to get a bag from or get something from.
True. That's true. 100%. So, moving on from the business side of things, moving on from that, I want to start to look at and explore the interconnections between, or the culture clash right now between music in the city, especially the music within the city, and police right now. Because we've seen over the last few years, a lot of artists' lyrics get brought up in court on trial.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think it's new. I did an interview with a gentleman named Heartless G, an artist named Heartless G. He's been doing time since 2009, if I'm not mistaken. And he said that his court case had the most amount of songs brought up in court. Right? I think it was over 100. It was a really big number. And that example also came up when we interviewed Turk, right? Turk from Turk Foundation. He said he had 1,300 songs brought up in court, and that was at least 10 years ago, right? So this is something that's been going on for a while. As far as now, to be honest, and unfortunately, I'm not surprised, right? As a former rapper myself, part of what we do is, like I was saying in the beginning, is therapy, right? So I'm going to be getting stuff off my chest. I've gotten a lot off my chest that, if I look back now, sounds pretty incriminating, right? But at the same time, you know, rappers embellish, rappers make things sound cooler or makes things sound bigger than they actually are, and it's an artistic expression, right? So, am I gonna have to watch what I say in my rhymes, and I can't express myself because it might come up in court later on because I'm dealing with some of the things that are going on in my life? I don't look at that as too fair. You know what I mean? So it is a real gray zone when it comes to using people's lyrics in court. right? Like, I always try to put my foot in the other people's shoes. Like, when it comes to the courts and stuff like that, like, I kind of get where they're trying to come from, but it's a false equivalency when you start taking people's music, because there's a lot of rappers who lie in their raps. So what if that rapper who lies in their raps actually goes through some real shit? Are you going to use his stuff in court?
No, you're right. And the thing that I feel is that a lot of it's like what you said, it's an artistic expression, right? And for many individuals that are coming from marginalized community, where there's a lack of resources, there's a lack of programming, where things like certain forms of having that out, maybe therapy or what have you, are not necessarily things that are spoken of. They're not things that are promoted, right? And so individuals find their own means of having that out, which could be through writing, which is through rap, through their music, and that translates through that. And as you said, it's an artistic expression. And
Right.
for a lot of these people, for a lot of artists, we have to recognize that these are, for many of them, it is their real life experiences. As you said, there could be certain areas where they might be exaggerated or what have you. But for many, this is their real life. And whether that's happened recently, maybe it's not even for them, but it might be for somebody they know.
Right.
And they've used that as a means to speak on what's going on within their city, what's going on within their in their community. And then to have that music then, or those lyrics, cherry picked and then brought out in trial. Because there's so many cases now, just like you mentioned, Heartless, Turk, Lamar Skeet right now, who've had their lyrics literally cherry picked and brought up in court against them. So if you're not able to use that artistic expression, use your gift as you're out to be able to express what's going on from within, whatever battles it might be that you're fighting within.
Yeah.
And you're not necessarily one in terms of looking at therapy as a means of an out or something. So what else do you have?
It's a really tricky thing though, because some of the people that you're speaking about, and even with us having this conversation on live, it gets really tricky, right? As you can see, there's a bunch of different people in the comments who are acting crazy and all that, and that's normal to me, right?
Yeah.
But there's artists who are expressing themselves and just getting things off their chest, and telling their life stories through music and stuff. And then there's also the glorification, right? We also have to look at two sides. Okay. Right. I support the whole scene of anybody who's trying to get out their situation through rap. But there's a lot of music out here where people are glorifying killing people. There's a lot of music that are glorifying people who after they're dead, we're smoking under ops, we're smoking under axes, all that stuff, right? So those same people can't turn around and be pissed off if their shit comes up in court.
It's valid.
To be the guy, the bearer of bad news, because I'm supposed to be the street nigga too, right? But I just got to call it how I see it. The court's not going to feel sorry for you if your song has you laughing about people being dead. It's a difference than what the gentleman that we were speaking about, where their music is talking about the pain and the different things that they've done or dealt with in the street. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We've got a new age of hip hop that's going on right now, where the glorification of the people who are dead and is a new thing, and it gets a lot of traction. So, and baiting yourself up on social media is a cool thing too, and the cops watch all of that shit.
Yeah.
So if that comes up in court later on, I don't know if that's artistic expression being exploited or being used in the wrong way, because how much of that shit is really artistic? I'm just trying to be real with you, Rachel. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to pull any punches for anybody out here. It doesn't do nothing for me. It's not going to make me any more money, and it's not going to get the artist in any more, or the people in any of a better position to encourage the bullshit. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's true. It is true, and it's very valid, especially when we're speaking about the glamorization. Um, for many, like you said, there are those who've had real life experiences, but there are those who have exaggerated things or who've glamorized certain things, and from that, um, someone was saying art imitating life or life imitating art,
Mm-hmm.
and from that, there are repercussions from that.
Definitely.
And I think another point too is like, especially when we look at the city and what's happened over the last few years in terms of the amount of artists that we've lost. Um, and like you said, there is that where in certain songs and in music, there is the disrespect, the blatant disrespect
Mm-hmm.
within that. And that you also mentioned something with regards to new school. The difference between the old school um, rap and hip hop that we were seeing and what we currently see now from the new artists that are coming up.
Right.
What's your take on that? Because I know you've mentioned it so far. But in terms of sort of where before we were seeing more of that storytelling and those life experiences, and now we're seeing more of that glamorization.
I got to push back on that a slight bit. The only difference between back then and now, besides the fact that we have social media, or more social media, right? Because there's Facebook and stuff like that back then, MySpace. It was a prehistoric version, but it was a way of getting from here to Japan if you wanted to with your music.
Right.
But the only difference between back then and now is the glorification of smoking on the dead people's ashes and stuff like that. But as far as like killing people in lyrics and all that type of stuff, we've been doing that like post 90s for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of the people who I listened to back in the days, MOP, Onyx, and then as we start to get more into the early 2000s, Dipset, 50 Cent, there's a lot of the Locks. There's a lot of intricate gun bars going on in there. You know what I mean? Maybe the raps were a little bit more, I don't know, the flows were a little bit better. I'm sorry, I gotta say it. The flows were a little bit better. But they were talking about the same shit, right? I was on a video, a DVD back in the days called The Real Toronto. The rap scene back then was really, all of our shit was super violent. So there's no difference between the shit that we were rapping about then and now, except for the fact that, we talk about shooting motherfuckers all the time in our raps, but we just didn't talk about smoking them later.
And disrespecting them after.
Yeah, and pissing on their graves and all that. There was a couple of those though too. You know what I'm saying? But so there wasn't really much of a difference, to be honest. I've said this on live and different places before. A lot of these kids can't get the blame for the way they act, or these young men and women can't get the blame for the way that they act because they learn from us. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know a lot of fathers were separated from kids and a lot of single family households and the cycle continued and everything. But as a man in his 40s, if a kid is in his 20s and they're crazy, a lot of people who I know from back then were pretty crazy too.
That's true. That's true. I'm just looking at some of these comments. We have someone who was saying that now everybody sounds a lot like each other.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, each group or each rapper had their own personality. Today, a lot of these young rappers sound the same.
It depends on who's listening, right? My ears are a little bit adjusted differently. Like, I don't have 40-year-old ears, even though I have 40-year-old ears, right? But I say that to say a lot of times when your ears start to get above 35, a lot of the raps will sound the same. But if you're 17, you could tell the difference between Doovie and Lil Uzi Vert and Playboy Cardi. It's like super easy to tell, right? As soon as the song comes on, they're like, yo, that's my favorite song from such and such. You know what I mean? We might be like, how do you know? But they know, right? The voice tonality, even though a lot of people use autotune, I think a lot of people get it twisted where people think that they're using a lot of autotune. No, there's just a lot of young rappers whose voices are still pretty high, right? There is some autotune there. Some people have super extra levels of autotune on their voice, but some people just sauce it up a little bit, and their voice just hasn't really fucking dropped that much yet. It's real shit. I interview a lot of rappers, and when I hear them talk, their voice isn't super deep, right? It sounds pretty close to what they sound like when they rap, but I've been able to look at it from an objective point of view, and I take in their music. A lot of people are not even taking in the music that they're saying sounds the same.
Right. Right. Oh, I hear that. I hear that. So I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday, and they said something that stood out to me. And that was that a lot of our artists are being exploited, specifically when it comes to the drama. And in relation to back when academics was really kind of looking into the Toronto scene, and having on a lot of the different various Toronto artists. But now that there's been certain restrictions and whatnot, you're not seeing him coming back in and looking into the Toronto scene as he was before. That hype isn't there anymore. And someone had brought up that a lot of our artists are being exploited from the drama by artists or by people that aren't even in the city. Right? And from that drama, we've also seen, unfortunately, some of the, I won't say effects, but some of what comes from that.
Right.
And we are the ones that are in the city that are losing a lot of talent.
Yeah, that's I've heard that theory, and it's really hard because I work in the media as well as academics, and salute to academics, right? Because he did put a big spotlight on the city with that, with the Twitch streams that he was doing, and just having a lot of different conversations with Top 5 and Chromas and stuff like that. And I do hear what people are saying with people exploiting artists inside of a city that they're not in. But it's kind of hard to put a spotlight on a city, especially when it comes to this hip hop stuff, because hip hop it's very street, right? It's kind of hard to put spotlight on a city without the drama coming with it, right? So I don't think that academics had bad intentions in doing it, or anybody else who doesn't come from like this city in particular, when they're trying to focus on what's going on. Like, for example, like a Trap Geek, when he did the breakdown on Casper and K Money or Houdini, right? There's really intriguing things that are going on in the city, and it's kind of a good thing when people outside in the American market, like, it's been able to get on their radar. Right? So now if they turn around and make content out of it, it's the artist's responsibility, one, when they get the spotlight, to not incriminate themselves.
Right.
And two, it's also their responsibility that when they get that spotlight, to run with it and make it bigger and do positive things with it. They also have to take accountability, right? One thing I learned when I went away to the pen is accountability. They try to push that in my brain through AA meetings, all these different things. And I know a lot of people, because like the system isn't always there to help. It doesn't help people. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't learn from the system. It doesn't rehabilitate a lot of people. But I didn't fucking like jail. Sorry, my language. So it worked for me, right? And one of the things that I learned in there is about accountability. So if an artist is going to go on academics' live and act crazy and say a whole bunch of incriminating shit, and then stuff happens to them later, they're going to have to take accountability for their own actions. That ain't on act. You know what I'm saying? Toronto has a problem of not taking accountability. Like, yo, it's these American guys that did that to us. Oh, no, it's the dirty police that locked us up. The police is not the one who told you to take the burner and put it in your whip.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it is real. And so what you were saying with regards to the system. So for me personally, I'm someone who's a strong believer that the system was built specifically against or to control those that are marginalized.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, you did say an interesting point when it came to learning about accountability.
Right.
Because it's true, it is very easy, as much as we know that the system is against us, as much as we know that there is no resources and support and things to that regard, it's very easy for people to have that blame game where they say, yeah, well, it's because of this or it's because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And that point that you made is very valid in terms of, yes, there may be certain factors or contributing factors, but overall, that final decision when it came to certain actions that were made, that was done by you.
The individual. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And everything you said is true. All those factors make it harder to make better decisions.
Right.
Right? But when you bump your head once, you shouldn't bump your head 3 times. I'll give you twice. You know what I'm saying? But I've done time with people who have gone inside over and over again for the same shit. And what do they say? If you do the same thing over and over again looking for the same results, you're probably crazy.
But do you hear, so I work with a lot of individuals that are incarcerated.
Mm-hmm.
And for some of them, I get the same answer for a lot of people, which is that, well, I've been doing this for so long. I've been doing this all my life. I'm 40 years old. What else am I supposed to do?
Right.
Right? And it's like, this is all I know. And so as much as, and it's not to say that they like being in, because a lot of these guys, when I talk to them, no, they want to come home. They want to be with family. They don't want to be inside. They don't want to be locked up.
Mm-hmm.
But when they come out, because that's all they know, because they haven't done anything differently, what are the options?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's a shared responsibility. Inside, there needs to be, there are certain programs and different things, like, you can get like job licenses and stuff like that, like forklift license and different like cool stuff that might help you to have manual labor jobs when you get back on road.
Mm-hmm.
But there have to be more things implemented inside that help individuals change their mindset. Somebody said something really good. Life is your best teacher, said it's the mindset. There's got to be more psychological training in there. There's got to be therapy going on so that people can get over a lot of the PTSD that they've experienced from the hood, right?
Of course.
Now outside, there has to be job equal opportunity hires.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, you're an ex-convict, but I'm going to hire you anyway and give you a chance. All right. I used to work for a major company out here, but one of the things that happened with me is that they never did a criminal check on me. God blessed me. I was I think I was the only person that never got a criminal check. Because when I became a trainer over there at that same office, they'd ask me, where's the fax machine so I can so I can send my paperwork off, because they got to do a criminal check for me. And this would happen week after week after week. And I'm like, wow, that never happened for me. But if it did, I wouldn't be there training those same people. I was ex-con, or I was on parole at the time, but I had enough skills to, 1, have the job, 2, get a promotion, and then train other people in that job. But if I never got this opportunity, I would have never been able to be there and excel. So those opportunities need to be created for people where, yes, you're a convict or an ex-convict, and we're going to give you a chance to get a job and see if you'll excel over here. And not just at the construction site, at the office too.
Yep. Yeah. And I was just saying that. So that's the thing in terms of, one, this notion of equal opportunity, where companies are not going to say that they're not hiring you because you have a criminal record,
right?
Because they could be held liable for that.
This is true,
and that's discriminating. But we also know that predominantly one of the reasons why individuals don't get hired is because they have a criminal record.
Also true.
Right? And there's certain organizations, not just Keep Six, but other organizations that are really working to break those barriers, because what happens is we have so many individuals that come out, and part of their conditions is you need to find employment or you need to go to school.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you can go to school, but even when you complete school, you're still running into that same issue after the fact that you're going to have a criminal record check done.
Mm-hmm.
And you're still getting denied employment. And so I've had people who said, no, I want to go to school for this, that, and the other, but I'm going to run into the same issue anyways. So is it worth it for me to spend the next how many years?
Yeah. Because I what you're speaking about, I went through. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I have a high school diploma. I have post-secondary education. Right? And in my 30s, I caught my big charge and conviction. So it wasn't like while I was growing up and, you know, I was in school, I got dragged out of school or out of the school system. I went through the whole school system. That's part of the reasons at the same time that I was equipped when I was ready to come home to get back into society.
Right.
So actually, when I'm thinking about it, if those equal opportunities are still there, then they can still present themselves to the people who can take them. Because if you went through school, you went through college, you have a college degree, and then, you know, happens, you weren't able to make ends meet, okay? And then let's say you know, in your late 20s, you start selling some drugs, but you have a college degree. You want to feed your family. You get in trouble, right? And you're like, okay, well, I couldn't get a job with my fucking college degree, so this is what I did. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Yeah. It doesn't mean that your college degree is not applicable when you come home. It doesn't get all of a sudden, it doesn't evaporate. You're still as smart, and you still got all of that knowledge that you received when you were in college and in high school and everything that can still be used, and you can still be a productive person in society, even though you have a charge.
I have 3 guys right now on my caseload who either gone to university, have gone to college, and it's either for business or marketing, or one was doing physics, and they're brilliant. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that all 3 of them have said is, I want to come out and I want to finish school. One of them, he hasn't finished his degree. He's like, unfortunately, I dropped out because I'm inside, but I want to come out and finish school. But what happens after that? And it's like you said, there are individuals who have degrees in that post-secondary education, and that education is not now null and void just because you went inside. However, there are barriers now in place because of a mistake or something that was done. And for many of them, it's due to, like you said, maybe they weren't able to find employment, so they needed to do something to take care of their families. Mm-hmm. There wasn't malicious intent. It was that they were just trying to provide.
Yeah. R.I.P. to the late great DMX. He said there's a difference between doing wrong and being wrong, and that ain't right. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot, and I'm gonna say some touchy shit. A lot of people will look at drug dealing as evil, unethical, right? So once upon a time, weed was a drug, right? And it was illegal and bad and unethical to sell it, and then it became legal. Right? Yeah. Same with alcohol. Right? You're a bad person if you sell alcohol until prohibition, in the prohibition times, and then it became legal, and now it's available in your local liquor store, and the fucking government supports it. Same with the weed.
Yeah.
Right? So now is the coke dealer evil because he wants to feed his family and sells coke to people in freaking high class neighborhoods?
Yeah. And it's true. Like everybody has their vice,
Mm-hmm.
right? And what you're saying in terms of there's so many things that had been illegal at one time or another that are now legal.
Yep.
And not necessarily everything that is illegal is wrong either. And somebody said that to me, and especially now when we're seeing everything that's going on with regards to the current climate, and what's been going on thus far.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it is really within the system itself, because there's things that are going on that are considered legal that we say, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We have a lot of people who are, alcohol prohibition. That's a big one for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Once upon a time, you're the evil bootlegger. Now you're the glorious LCBO.
That's true. And it's because now the government makes money off of it too, right? If they see a means to be able to make funds off of it, they find
Yeah.
a way to monetize it.
And the thing is, when things are illegal, the stakes get higher. People fight for it. They fight for the territory. They fight for the amounts. And then people get hurt.
Yep. It's true.
Nobody's dying over alcohol sales. I'm just saying.
No, it's true. Honestly, it's true.
Things come out of my mouth. I just put the concepts out there, and people do what they will.
And you know what? I have to appreciate that though, because a lot of people are so worried that they like to filter, but it's keeping it real, keeping it organic, being authentic.
A lot of people have things that they can lose, and not to say that we don't have anything to lose. We've built something that I feel is beautiful, and I respect all the people who fuck with us. And if people stopped watching because I did some crazy shit or any of our team did something crazy tomorrow, that would really hurt. However, if we worked for like an NBC, a Complex or something like that, then maybe we might have to watch what we say. But we work for ourselves. So if somebody doesn't like what I have to say, I don't know, just DM me about it. Other than that, like, I'm still going to make content tomorrow.
It's true. It's very true.
All
There's a few people that's saying when they realize they can't control the people, they try to profit. At the end of the day, if certain powers don't get paid, it's a problem. But when they find a way to capitalize on it, then it's popping.
Yeah.
We have someone asking, what do you see Toronto hip-hop looking like in the next 5 years?
Wow.
What would you like to see it look like?
I have a theory. I feel that there's going to be about 5+ millionaires walking around, maybe not the Toronto streets, but they might be in LA or whatever, but there's going to be at least 5 different people who are millionaires from rap music that have budded from this, what they call the Toronto underground scene that's bubbling right now.
Right.
All right. And then in 10 years, there'll be 10+ millionaires. Not like they have 1 million in the bank. Like I'm talking like they have like 5+, a couple of them got 10, maybe 20 in the bank, and their music is being consumed worldwide. That's what I see in 5 years.
Now, you said something in terms of they may not be living here, they may be in LA.
Mm-hmm.
And that brought up the topic of, or that's bringing up the theme in regards to the sustainability of the music industry in the city.
Right.
As opposed to a lot of artists having to go south.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've seen artists that have been able to go south and have been able to really take over the scene.
Right.
But why is that not necessarily happening here?
It's simple. It's just mathematics. We have 30 million. They have 300 million. I want a piece of their 300 million. Our 30 million is great. If we can have that, we'll be comfortable. But if we can have that, we'll be rich. It's that simple, right? Out of the percentage of the 30 million people that are out here, there's a big percentage of them that are not into hip hop. So we can't even bother to try to market to them, right? A big percentage of our hip hop community lives here in our city and it's surrounding GTHA, right? So then once you start to go across the country, with the exception of Montreal and Vancouver, it starts to get sparse to do like a Canadian tour. But you can just tour the South and make at least 100K. You haven't even hit the East Coast yet. You didn't even do the tri-state.
It's big.
Right? So and it's not about being on getting the American clout or we have to get their acceptance. Everybody wants that market. If you're a Russian rapper, you want to blow up in the States. Oxymiron wants to blow up in the States. And he's huge in Russia. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a thing, right? It's the biggest market. It's where the biggest stars come from. And once you get that market, it doesn't mean that you left home. It just makes your home bigger, i.e. The Weeknd, Drake, and now Tory Lanez, and now, right? They make Toronto part of the conversation.
Right. But so, what about the artists that aren't able to travel to the States? Because we've got artists that are trying to get out. They are trying to use their music as an out. But unfortunately, they have criminal records which are preventing them from getting into the States. And so they're limited in what they're really able to do from this side of the border.
Yeah, and that's difficult. There's going to be more obstacles, right? There's going to be a lot more obstacles. However, it's still not impossible. There's people who've had criminal charges that are still getting into the States. They're not sneaking in. There's artists who I've interviewed and part of my criteria in interviewing artists is them making a buzz for themselves, them being able to build a fan base, so that when we interview them, we have things to talk about. They have catalog, and they have people who want to watch them. But with that being said, they start becoming small businesses on their own. Right? They start accumulating tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars from streams independently.
Right.
Right? So follow me with this. Once that starts happening, they notice you over there in the States, I mean. They'll find a way to bring you over, i.e. oppressor. He had a very high-profile case that was going on in the news. But when the record companies start seeing the potential that they can make some money, they'll make it happen. Baka performed at the MTV Awards with Drake, neck full of gold, fresh home from jail on parole. It can happen. And I know that's Drake. I know but when the money starts to talk, the borders start to open.
I like that.
Right?
Don't give up on those dreams, because it's possible. Yeah. Shoot,
there's artists out here, sorry to interrupt you, there's artists out here who got fan bases like crazy. I look on their Spotify, they got a million plus streams. If they're not able to cross the border, they will be soon. Trust me.
Amazing. I'm looking at some of the comments. Someone's asking, have you ever toured Canada?
Yes. Well, I toured the West Coast. We did a 12-city tour. I got the chance to tour around with Mocha Only from Soul of Members from back in the days. You don't look like you remember.
I don't. I'm not even going to front.
Their song used to play on Flow all the time. Swollen members get set on. Probably doing a horrible rendition of it. But that's Mocha Only on the hook. I got to tour with him and another Toronto rapper named Decisive, as well as DJ Law. And we went to about 12 different cities in the West Coast, 10 in BC, and then 2 in Alberta. And that shit was dope. All right? I did an Ontario tour as well. Montreal is where I'm from originally, so I've done Montreal shows. So I've definitely gotten around. Never did these.
What's your favorite part about touring?
It's not the most positive question, Rachel. I'm sorry.
No?
Answer. The debauchery. I'm sorry. I'm human. That shit was fun.
Nobody's judging.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good.
Nobody's judging. It's a question.
You get off stage,
I'd rather,
and girls are
I'd
like, "Oh
rather
my
you
god, I
no,
love
no,
what
no.
you just did on stage."
No.
That is
I'd
a lot
rather
of them.
you be real about it, right?
Yeah, because a lot of motivation for, especially for male rappers. I can't speak for women who rap, but for male rappers, it's like they watch the show where all these girls are going crazy. They see the music video where their favorite artist has 20 girls in the video and just 3 of them and them. They want to be them.
Yeah.
So now if you go on stage and gal them are treating you like that, you're like, how could I rinse and repeat that action over and over and over and over and over and over again and make money? It's not a bad life to want to have.
Valid.
Right? So that's what I like the most. You know, those networking and, you know, the touring part, like riding around in a fucking van for hours, that's not fun. Right? But when you get to where you're going and then you do the show and you're on the stage and all that, that's exhilarating.
And then you celebrate after.
Exactly. And them times I'm an alcoholic, but what's the wording? I haven't drank in 11 years, right? So, because there's no such thing as a recovering alcoholic. You either are or you're not. Okay? But I haven't drank in 11 years. But in those times, I used to drink. So it got even crazier.
I appreciate the realness.
You got me like having flashbacks.
Relive. So I'm just looking to see if we have any questions coming through. If anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. So 5 years from now, we're gonna see at least 5 millionaires coming from the city.
Yes.
10 years from now, we're gonna be seeing 10 millionaires coming from the city. What would you change, if anything, in the Toronto industry right now?
It's a tough one because a lot of people expect me to say, well, stop talking about your ops and all that. And that has to change in the whole industry. That's not just a Toronto problem. Like they're doing it in New York, they're doing it in the UK, they're doing it in Florida. That's just what happens in rap. So I'm not going to say take that away, right? So what I'm going to say that not everybody is going to expect is keep doing what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Make a way for yourself. You know, become as much of an individual in this big ocean of everybody who quote unquote sounds the same as you can, and feed your family. I have no problems with the music, the way it sounds. You know what I'm saying? It gets a little exciting sometimes, and some people get in trouble, and we can get back to the accountability thing. That's on them. But as far as the audience, we all got our popcorn.
Okay. What's your top 5 favorite artists from here?
From here? I'm going to go with, and my list is not going to be like the most newest people, right? But I'm going to go with Socrates.
Okay.
Who else? Maestro.
Maestro's doing some big things right now.
And like, especially like when I first heard him back in the days, that just put me on even more to trying to get into this rap game. All right. For some of the newer people, I'm going to go with Biz Loke. Adam Bomb, which is very, I don't know, it might be biased because he's part of my crew that I used to manage, Empire, but one of the best lyricists, period. And I got one more. Chaos. Chaos is that dude. And yeah, I do have an ice cap comment gang. There is an ice cap around.
I feel that. I feel that. Maestro, we have a lot of people that are saying Maestro right now.
Salute Maestro. He's my friend. I have the honor for him to be my friend. After like looking up to him and watching him on TV, like I've done work with him besides the interview, you know what I'm saying? And like hung out with him and like, you know, calls me and I call him and we check up on each other. Like sometimes I sit to and think to myself, I just got off the phone with the godfather of rap and we're not talking about rap. We're just talking about how you doing. Like, what the fuck? God is good.
Yes. And you get to bounce ideas off each other too.
Yeah.
Right? And that's such a privilege to be able to have the ability to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a blessing.
We have someone who's saying, and I think we touched on this a little bit, but do you think Toronto music is promoting a positive impact for our city? I know we touched on it a bit.
There's some parts that are not positive, obviously, but there's so much talent out here that if you really talk to somebody who's like has their ear to the street, and not the street, like I mean the streets, I mean just like the expression, right?
Right.
Like who really knows what's going on, who's really tapped in, you'll find like a plethora of artists who are not pushing street shit, who are like super talented, like the Tobys of the world, like the Havaya Mighties. Who else can I name that are like not street people? Kofi, JMG Kofi. Like these people are extremely talented and are not on some street shit. And they're gonna make it too, and they're making it. They're not even like underground. Like they're like Havaya Mighty did Sway and killed 5 Fingers of Death. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people are like, and sometimes it's a subset of what people are looking at. They're like, yo, the scene is so fucked up. There's so much negative rap going on. What's gonna happen with our scene? I don't know. We're gonna win.
I love that mindset.
Right? We need the guys. We need the street niggas. We can't have all these happy motherfuckers all over the place. I don't want, to be honest, I love their music, but I listen to the guys who spit pain shit. Okay? So if they're not rapping, if they're not pushing that shit, then what am I going to listen to?
It's true. And I'll even say your music too.
Who am I to talk? I talk about, if you listen to my whole catalog, and I never killed anybody, but through my catalog, at least 200 people died.
Yeah.
Right?
It's true. It's true. Amazing. We have so much love coming in the comments, and I want to thank everybody for sharing your energies and your vibes. I super want to shout you out in regards to sharing the space with me. I think this is a very necessary conversation, and I love the fact that we were able to really just vibe and discuss some of really what's going on in the city, but also I love the narrative that we're able to. There's always this conversation about like the violence in the city is contributed to the rap, or the music is what's resulting in all of this. And I love the fact that we're able to really keep it real and to state what it really is about. And the fact that, like what you said, like we need these musics, we need these artistic expressions, we need the good and the happy, but we also need the pain. Right? Because that's what makes us whole.
Yeah. And that's reality.
It is reality. And we can't act like everything's nice and honky-dory because we're in Canada, because it's not.
Yeah.
And so we need to be realistic and keep it 100 throughout.
Agreed. And
So I just want to say thank you for taking the time to share the space. I know today was a special day because we did have to move it to Thursday, but thank you for being able to make that time out for us. Thank you for what you're doing in the city, because you've been doing some big things as well. And I know a lot of people know where they can find you, but if you just want to let everyone know again where they're able to find you, connect with you,
Well, for the people who are on here, you know, We Love Hip Hop Network. For my personal, Friday Ricky Dred, that's D-R-E-D, no A. Okay, so D-R-E-D, Friday Ricky Dred. Make sure to hit us up on our website, We Love Hip Hop Network. We Love Hip Hop.ca. And a salute to my whole team, you know, PK Herc, as well as Gutsy Guts, Gucci. I see y'all in the chat over here. Salute to Empress, salute to Raheel. We have a small but very efficient team. You know what I'm saying? Salute to all of y'all. And, you know, the whole of Toronto and Canada.
Amazing. Well, thank you. We're going to be posting this live, and I'll be sharing it with you as well. I want to thank everybody.
Sorry.
On.
And thank you to Richard and all that, for making this all happen as well. And thank you, Rachel.
For sure. Anytime at all. But I want to say thank you also to all of the viewers and everyone that's been on here. Friday, keep doing what you're doing. Keep keeping it real, because I appreciate that we don't have many people who keep it real. And yeah, I hope you have a good night, and thank you again for sharing the space with me.
You as well.
All right, take care.
Bless.